Hey, what's up, guys? It's elospeaks back again with another video. And in this video, I want to talk about Stephen A. Smith's recent interview on Paul George's podcast the other day. On the podcast, it was a fairly entertaining podcast, and he talked about an array of topics. Obviously, he talked about the quiet letter situation, the Malika Andrews. He talked about the Kyrie Irving situation, and he also talked about the Kwame Brown situation. Array of topics that they brought up, which made for an interesting conversation with him and PG that they had on his podcast. One particular one I wanted to talk about is the one that he had where they asked him, "What are your biggest regrets so far, like over the course of his sports analyst career?" And he brought up a number of regrets, but the one that he brought up was the Kwame Brown situation, and clearly, that that was a high tension out of all the athletes that Stephen A. Smith, I would say, would have beef with. Kwame Brown and him is the biggest one because of the instant Mike Bond classic that he had way long time ago when he first arrived on ESPN when Marcus Gasol, Paul Gasol got traded for Kwame Brown to the Lakers and in exchange for him, and then they asked Stephen A. Smith take on it, and Stephen A. Smith just went 100% raw, in your face truth about it, and he gave his opinion. It was harsh. It was, it was the truth. It was harsh, but it's the truth. Now, at that time, that take took a life of his own, and ever since then, he's been making a mockery of Kwame Brown for over the years, over the course of his years, all the way from being on ESPN to First Take, and he's because recently he stopped because Kwame Brown recently started to push back on him and started to stand up for himself and defend his honor and his name, which I can't blame him. Anybody would do that. You're not gonna let somebody keep talking bad on your name, talking bad on your last name, and just continue to make a mockery and invoke other people to make a mockery of you as well. But he had his regrets, and he didn't know that that take was going to take a life of his own, because you could tell Kwame Brown has been ridiculed for many years based off Stephen A. Smith's take of him. Now, I understand that Kwame Brown's a bust to some degree, and I say some degree because he played in the league for 10 plus years. So to me, that doesn't count to me as a bust. If you play in the league for 10 plus years, you're doing something right. It's not like he came in the league, played for like 2, 3, 4 years, and then went. Then I would say he's a bust, but he's a bust from the perspective that he had high expectations to as a number one overall pick to be a potential star and a franchise changer for the team, and that didn't happen. Now, Kwame Brown did mention that there were other factors in place, like the head coach, Michael Jordan, and then obviously when he was playing with Kobe Bryant, all those factors come into place. But all in all, he didn't perform up to par, and that's partly his fault. And I'm pretty sure there was other factors in place of why he didn't succeed, but you only dealt with the circumstances that you have, so you have to deal with it. Now, the other situation where he was talking about was the Kyrie situation and the bad blood between them. And on the podcast, he recently said that him and Kyrie Irving had met up with each other a couple of months ago. I think it was the Lakers and Memphis Grizzlies playoff series. And he had approached Stephen A. Smith, and Kyrie had asked him, "Do you have that same energy?" And then, Stephen A. Smith didn't back down, and then he replied, and then they kind of hashed it out a little bit, and he was saying why the energy between him and Kyrie was so bad, and I guess because he said that the text message that he was receiving from his father at the time didn't sit well with Stephen A. Smith, so he kind of lashed out on Kyrie as regards to that situation, which is such a emotional whole behavior from Stephen A. Smith, to be honest, because if it took a young guy in his 20s to let you know that you're acting out of character, acting out very emotional because you're 55 years old, and Kyrie Irving is around the same age, and you guys are going back and forth emotionally like this, that just shows you have a feminine character about yourself as regards to that stuff. A lot of the verbiage that he used to attack Kyrie was unnecessary, unprofessional, and just straight up biased, and that's what made people look at Stephen A. Smith sideways, because we already know Stephen A. Smith would do that to certain athletes, and when I mean certain athletes, I mean Caucasian athletes. We know how he handled the Jerry Jones situation, the Dana White situation, the the guy who played for Green Bay Packers, the Aaron Rodgers situation. He handled those situations with kid gloves and didn't do too much. How he would go if it was a regular black athlete like Kyrie, Kawhi Leonard, etc. And to piggyback off that, speaking on that, he did also mention the Kawhi Leonard situation, and PG as a teammate of Kawhi Leonard has some pushback as regards to that, because that's his teammate for the Los Angeles Clippers, and he's going to defend his teammate. And Stephen A. Smith gave his opinion on it and just was critiquing him on the load managing and how much that is a problem for not just Kawhi but for other players around the league, because players around the league are sitting out during marquee games, and that's bad for the league. The league's going to lose money, and that's going to cause issues as regards to how much games that they play and how much if fans don't want to go and attend these games, or not sure they want to attend these games because the players are not going to be there. And if the players aren't going to be there, I'm not going to buy the ticket, which is going to cause them league to lose money. And especially if it's on national TV like ESPN, ABC, etc., TNT playoff games, then of course nobody's going to watch, nobody's going to tune in, because like, what's the point? So in that particular aspect, I agree with Stephen A. Smith. I don't like load managing. At the time that Kawhi Leonard did it in 2019, he was coming off an injury, and we wasn't sure the severity of his injury, so I gave it a pass. But now it's kind of getting overblown to the point where a lot of marquee stars are doing it as well. And I understand that Kawhi Leonard is a lot older now, and he's a lot more prone to injuries, but still, it's just not good for the league and the product overall, the NBA, for to be sitting out games, especially against key matchups or key marquee games against other teams, big time teams in the league, where fans want to see the best of the best play against each other. We want to see Kawhi Leonard go up against LeBron and Lakers, or Kevin Durant or his Suns, or the Sixers with Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic. We want to see those games because those are the games that we love to see. We love to see the rivalry. We love to see the competitiveness of the game. And if the stars are not playing, and we basically got to wait all the way till playoffs for you guys to play each other, and then you end up getting hurt anyway, it's just not a good look. And it just looks bad. Now, again, the injuries, that's part of the game. You can't control that. It happens. There's nothing you could do about that. But again, the overall product is just not a good look to have load managing permeate throughout the whole league, where you have big time stars just sitting out games against other big time stars. It leaves a trash product on the court, and nobody wants to watch that. So those are my thoughts and opinions on the matter. And I don't particularly agree with a lot of stuff Stephen A. Smith. I think he's highly emotional, highly feminine, and he's very biased in some of his talking points, the way he said. I think he's a good boy. Whatever ESPN tells him to do, he's going to do. And that's just my opinion on this matter. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you like some of the comments that Stephen A. Smith said? Do you disagree with some of the comments he said? Let me know in the comment section down below. This is Elo Speaks out. Peace.